A man starts his journey to power. Growing up for hour after hour, he was conditioned to believe that it is his destiny. He came out of the starting gate white and male and straight, and the supports he has starting his life are so very disconnected from the challenge and strife that affects the rest of us. But like an invisible shield, they guide his way. Obstacles yield before him, and day after day, he moves forward. He tells himself that the journey is tough, but the wins are never enough, and he begins to hunger for even more. And then, from a mentor, or a friend, or by watching the rise of other men, he figures out the recipe. Find the fear. Name the other. Stoke the rage. Call them to arms. Take the power. Find the fear. People who are dissatisfied with their lot in life and fear it will never change. People growing sluggish under their burden of cares. Temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Dreamers who haven't achieved their dreams. And in this, they're all the same. They're people who want someone to blame. Because they were conditioned to believe that they were entitled to the American dream or the unfettered riches of oil patch ditches or any other cultural mythology that says life will be what you want it to be, you just have to work for it. And anyone who doesn't succeed simply doesn't believe in the creed of hard work. And if you are working and you don't have success, it's because someone is keeping it from you. But who? Name the other. One of the ways we grow close with our brothers is our lizard brains, which are already pre-wired to fear the other. And this man gets us fired up and names that beast. He gives our fears a feast by giving them a face, someone to hate, someone to trace back all our anger to. A brand new boogeyman that we can blame, and it's easier because far too often they don't look the same. His game plan to craze and distract us is with dog whistle phrases like barbaric cultural practices. And we are unsettled by this behavior. He's got his hooks into us, and now we're suspicious of our own neighbor. Now he looks at the recipe and he turns the page. What does he read? Stoke the rage. To spread the flame, he recruits their devotion. Use simple language and emotion. Fear, anger, greed, guilt. And now he uses that fear he's built. He makes sure that fear starts to burn, and in the heat of this man's fire, it begins to turn into anger, and anger turns into rage. And in this age of opinions and facts at your fingertips, the truth slips off the page. Sowing anger, sowing discord, sowing division, he finds an easy incision and pours anger into it. He stokes those flames and finds easy gains in a rising, passionate base, which will take his case for action at face value. And that base, well, now they'll believe in pedophile rings and other non-existent things and non-existent basements because of non-existent proof. But juicy stories, yes. The story is the thing. The story is more important than the truth, and the burden of proof is tiresome and inconvenient. And the truth doesn't feed the fear. It doesn't fan the flames. It no longer provides a distraction from the lack of personal satisfaction and the broken promise of plenty. He gives truth a reprieve and sells them what they want to believe. But in all this, there's something this man doesn't seem to know. You always reap that which you sow. And if he hasn't caused enough harm, the next part of the recipe is to call them to arms. Our democracy is under attack. Join me as we fight to take back our country. We will defend liberty. We will fight for our democracy. We will never give up. We will never concede. You'll never take back our country with weakness. All words that have been spoken recently. All by men who claim to be the epitome of decency. But these same men will never question what they represent, even when there's now calls to hang the vice president. You reap what you sow. But no. No, it's not just you. That fire spreads and the anger spills out of heads and into communities. The violence begins and empty calls for unity fall on ears that don't want it. They don't want boring reality to come crashing down on the swollen, manufactured story that their success has been stolen. The fear, the anger, the violence, they spread, they grow, and now we reap what you sow. A riot storms the Capitol for the first time in over 200 years, and this happens because those fears were stoked by words disconnected from fact, that tell a tempting story and make a call to act, to take back what is yours, to attack those manufactured enemies, followed intentionally too late by pleas to avoid violence. after a conspicuous silence that could have stemmed the tide. And then the hypocrisy of calls for unity. It's an irony not lost on me after you've spent your currency of fear fanning the flames of anger and hatred. You've cashed in on the paranoia that you created when you stated there was an enemy trying to take away our freedoms. But the bill will come due. And the words that you use to stir up your base will come back to haunt you too, to haunt us all. We'll hear it echoed in the voices of those who made the choices to rise up and take back their country. From who? From me? Who seems to be mostly happy with our current state of democracy? That's division. You pit them against me. That rests at your feet, and eventually, when they're done with me, they'll try to take back their country from you too. You will reap what you sow. The people who say it will never happen here have not heard the clear keening from the mob whose anger is now a drug, an opiate, and they can no longer function without a hit. And there's no change that can make it right, because even when these men are in power, this fight is all they can offer. Their supporters' dreams of success will never come, and in fact, what they've undone is the very fabric of society that they actually need to truly provide peace and prosperity for their families, their friends, and their communities. When you set fire to the world, the only thing to gain is ashes. When you peddle division, conflict is the only decision. There's nowhere else to go. And we will reap what you now sow. Words have power. This is the hour, the minute, the second to start thinking about how your words have beckoned forth the monsters in our hearts. How you have pitched us against each other for your power, your profit, your gain, and that one truth remains: you have done this to us. Now here in the Great White North we see more of this to the south, but if you listen from far too many mouths, you'll hear it here too. I don't care what side of the aisle you align with. What I am not fine with is this process of turning people's fear into fire, using anger to turn their honest desire for a better life for their children, their parents, their husband, their wife, into a weapon against your opponents and a tool for your own ends. Now you want to argue that the other guy does it too? Look to your own. Take note. Look at the ones who earned your vote. Hold them to account, if they represent you, to the higher standard that they swore to uphold when they embraced the banner of office, of leadership. And don't write these things off as a flippant quip or a joke. Whether you use it to describe the deplorables or to own the libs, it's no longer ignorable to be so glib about ordinary folks using words of violence. Besides, those men are counting on your silence. I'm not asking you to fight them, or to take civil conversation back. I'm asking you to call them on it when they call you to attack. Our words, our voices, make a difference, whether we speak up or let it go, because in the end, we also reap what we sow.